Hello, Aldo Figueroa here, and in this video I'm going to show you how you could rearrange your artboard so that you could change it to different size specifications. For this example, here I have a portrait that I created myself. Let me just go ahead and zoom out so I could show you what I have right here. I created this wall of text and controllers to go in my background. And if I look closely right here, I'm just going to zoom in on this area right here. You can see how it's just like a simple graphic that I created of an NES style controller, and this text 42-bit gamer as my background text. So what I want to do, I want to change the size of my artboard. To do that, let me show you what I'm going to do. Right here, for my workspace, I have the Essentials Classic selected. By doing so, I get all of my different controls here. I also get the access to the control bar. I want to use this tool right here, the Artboard tool. I'm going to click on it. And what it gives me right here, this gives me controls where I could manipulate my current artboard, or I could create a new one. I don't want to create a new one. I want to manipulate the one that's currently selected. This is Artboard 1. You can see my width and height is set to 7 by 7. It's a square. I want to change this to 8 by 10. So I want to go ahead and change this to 8. Of note, if you do not have your unit of measure set to inches, you could always type in IN for inches and it'll convert it. So I want to change this to 10. I'm going to press tab and you can see that it changes my work area. So I need to make some adjustments for my document. If I want to, I could always switch these around so that instead of having it 8 by 10, maybe I want a 10 by 8. And I could do that by switching right here. This is in portrait. I could switch it to landscape. So I think I want to keep the portrait mode. But now what I need to do, I need to resize some of my things. So some of my visual components to fit my new artboard. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to my selection tool. And let me go ahead and show you my layers. Let me show you what I have right here. Uh, I've, I've separated everything. And what I'm going to need to do, I'm going to need to resize my portrait and also my background. What I've also done, I separated my wall of text, which is right here in this layer 64, which is this one and this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn off that layer entirely. Now to resize everything, I want to make sure that the layers that I want to resize are not locked and that they're visible. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and I don't want to resize this layer right here. I'm going to go ahead and call this my wall of text. Wall of text. And this one is layer 56 is my background. And all these other layers, I want to make sure that they're unlocked. I also want to make sure that they're not locked within them, because if what I'm going to do, I'm going to select everything and just scale it. But if anything is locked within these layers, they too will be locked. Let's see, okay, there. So I'm just going right here, just making sure that none of these layers, I have locked layers within them. Okay, it looks like they're all fine. Excellent. Using my selection tool, I'm just going to select everything. And you can see everything is selected. The cool thing with that within Illustrator, you can scale everything uniformly. I'm going to hold down Shift so that when I scale, it keeps my proportion. Otherwise, if I let go of Shift, which I've just done, I could break my proportion, which I don't want to do. I'm going to go ahead and undo Command or Control Z. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and scale this up. Okay, great. That works excellent. I want to look at the bottom. It's kind of hard to see, but my artboard. So I might want to go ahead and just shift this down a bit. I'm going to use my arrow keys up, down, left, right, just so I can make sure that the bottom is placed. I'm going to deselect, and there we go. I was able to reposition my artwork. Let me go ahead and bring back my wall of text, and now I have this. But what I want to do, I feel that my controllers are too bright. Let me show you what we could do. What I've done for this one, I basically copied and paste my controller and my text over and over again. And I could show you how I done that. On this other layer, you could see that I have these controllers. What I've done with these controllers so I could select them is by default, let me go ahead and select one controller right here just to show you. Uh, Let me select, which is this one? Okay, it's this controller right here. I've already grouped them, but by default, they might not be grouped. You can see I have all these different pieces. Let me go ahead and move these pieces outside of that group, effectively ungrouping them. And right now you can see how this one I selected and it's selecting all the different components because this is a group. This one right here I just separated and it's not a group. If you want to group different pieces together so you can move them as an object, you could select all these different shapes. So for example, here are all these shapes and you can see in my layers they're all selected. You go into object and you could tell them to group. Now this is different than just placing them in a layer. When you create this group, I'm going to go ahead and select it. Keyboard shortcut Command or Control G. This is now a group, and you can see that now it has this. It says group right here, though we can't see the text. I could go ahead and extend this so that wrong one right here, so you can see it. It says group, and now what happens when I select it? It selects the entire group. Now if I want to select the individual components, I have to go into the group so I could select the individual pieces. But this is really handy so you can move it. So what I just did is I placed one object and then let me go ahead and just copy uh, some of my text. I'm just going to click on this one. I'm going to Command C or Control C or Edit Copy Edit Paste. And now Command V or Control V. Let me go ahead and just move this. It's so small. And let me change the color to black so it's easier for you to see. Zoom, zoom, zoom out. I'm going to hold down Shift. And so I just have these right next to each other. And really what I did, I just selected both of them, did an edit, copy, edit, paste, and I just continued to move them one right next to the other. And do this over and over again until I have my entire wall of text. Let me go ahead and let me minimize this layer. I'm going to hide this layer. I'm going to bring back my controllers. But what I also did, I separated the two different layers. In fact, I don't think I needed to do that. I just spent too much time separating them. Anyways, I'm going to select these layers, the layer for the controller, and I'm going to go into Properties. In Properties, we do have Opacity. I'm going to drop down the opacity to about to 25%. So now what I see when I look at it, I could still see the object. It's faint, but it doesn't stand out too much. It's not taking it away any of the attention from the foreground element, which is my portrait. So if that is a little bit too dark, I could always go back and readjust it. Let me go to about 32%. I'm going to deselect it. Okay, that looks fine. And I'm going to do a little bit with the text as well. Previously, I had, for the text, I did have black selected. Let me go ahead and select black, for example. But I felt that this was too dark, or it stands out too much. So that's when I decided to go ahead and select it, switch it to this gray right here, and I like the effect that it's giving me. Now, one thing that I want to do, I just want to make a minor adjustment. You can see right here along my artboard. I don't want them to line up perfectly along the artboard, but I'm going to change that in a moment. But my opacity for this one, I'm going to maybe try around 50% so that it's light on the dark background, but dark on the light background. I don't mind that it kind of disappears up here. I kind of want that so that it's in the background. And why 42? I decided to uh, I I selected 42 simply because that's my age as of this year. I'm selecting all of my these two layers. I'm going to hold down Shift, and if I use my arrow keys, I can move them off to the side. I kind of want to move them so that I could see a little bit on both sides. Here are the arrows, so I'm just going to move them a bit. Here you go. So what I want to do is there. I like where it's now cutting off all the different areas, and I'm going to go ahead and Command S or Control S to save my file. And there you go. I was able to readjust my artboard. I was able to readjust my background components. Uh, I don't need to change this background object that I've created, my background shape. And there you go. So within the next videos, I'm going to show you how to export as a PDF and a PNG. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.